So I got a special guest, CEO of 216 Sports Network, Rommel Thorpe, joins me today as we talk about the Jim Schwartz hire. Excuse me, the Jim Schwartz hire. Should the Browns trade Myles Garrett? And we talk a little WWE as this Monday is the upcoming 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw. So check it out. To it. Let's get right to it. Cleveland Browns just got Jim Schwartz as their defensive coordinator after they fired Joe Woods for another awful and so in many people's eyes, they feel that he was pretty awful as defensive coordinator. So the Browns did what they did, got rid of him, and now they got Jim Schwartz as their defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. First thoughts on that? First question is, what are your thoughts on Jim Schwartz?
You know what? Um, as he said in his press conference interview, it's homecoming. He was there 95 when the Browns were there, when the original Browns, now the Ravens, were there. And, you know, looking at his body of work from Detroit to Tennessee, and for those that are watching, keep in mind, he was not the defensive coordinator in Tennessee. He was the defensive advisor. There is a huge, huge difference between the two because he doesn't have a lot of power when you're an advisor. That just means all right, look, I got an idea. I'm going to run this past you. If you go with it, great. If you're not, it's on you. You can't really blame him if you're a Tennessee fan. You can't really blame him for the failures that they had as far as not making the playoffs and not being in a situation where they could, potentially be a good defensive team. Uh, if he was a defensive coordinator, yeah, all the blame goes to him. But as far as that's my daughter in the background.
It's all
But
good.
as far as being an advisor, you don't have a lot of power. You're only there to help out the defensive coordinator when you can. So um, it's just a matter of what you can do now that you're with the Browns. And what I think he brings to the table as far as defensively goes is he uses a lot of their strengths, a lot of his players' strengths to his advantage in a defensive scheme. He doesn't blitz a lot. So for those watching, uh, you know, he doesn't give you a lot of options as far as what you can see when he blitzes.
Right.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
It's
But
okay.
He's never been known, he's never been one to blitz. So you're not going to see a lot of blitzes. What you are going to see is a lot of exotic coverages, a lot of cover zero, a lot of cover six. If you're a football mind, there is a such thing as a cover six. So, you know, you gotta pay attention to these things. And this is where Joe Woods had some problems because he did do a lot of blitzing. He did do a lot of, zone blitzes, which were not the strength of the Browns. The strength of the Browns is their front seven. They were, if you look at 2021 and 2020, as opposed to 2022, they were great at stopping the run and they were great at takeaways, which is when you were able to stop the run, you put the defense in a passing situation where you have to, as an offensive team, you have to throw the ball on third and long. You can't run. So when you look at these things and you look at Jim Schwartz's schemes, think about this. The times that Jim Schwartz was with the Lions, they were a great defensive team. They just sucked on offense. So looking
Exactly.
at the bottom, and most people don't pay attention to that part. I know personally, I know Lions fans, and they were like, it wasn't all his fault because he didn't have an offensive coordinator to go with Matt Stafford, which is a true statement. Matt Stafford needed that because the scheme that he had, the players that he had Megatron for crying out fucking loud. And as much as Jim Schwartz wanted to, he didn't have an offensive coordinator, and the front office of the Lions failed him in that. So, looking at this hire, I think it's a great hire. because I was almost being honest. You see me decked out in my Steelers stuff. I was almost scared that Brian Flores was coming over here, and if he came, I was like, well, damn, we're up shit's creek as a Steelers fan. We're up shit's creek because we've just lost our best defensive coordinator. So um, I think this is a great hire. I think people who are a fan of the Browns, you got to understand that Jim Schwartz is not conservative. He's not conservative by any means. And not only is he not conservative, he's smart.
Okay. So this is part two of the podcast. Sorry about that. We was just talking about pro wrestling and the differences between New Japan and the Raw is 30. So you got the
Hmm.
floor again, my man.
Yeah, I don't think people are tired of the product. I just think as a fan, me as a fan talking right now, not as a wrestler, but as a fan, I really think there should be more cross promotions, like cross promoting shows. Like if you look back in the day, WCW was big on cross promoting shows. So you had the WCW Super shows where you'd see matchups you would never dream about happening, but they would never do it over here because fans complain too much. And even in WWE, you see Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke is a shadow of his former self, and it's not his fault. It's not. I believe it's Vince's fault because you arguably had one of the best wrestlers in the world, and you have him on your roster. He's yet to, if I'm not mistaken, he's yet to win a world title. He's yet to have a really big match with a big name outside of Kevin Owens, uh, Seth Rollins. And don't get me wrong, those aren't big names, but where's his big WrestleMania moment?
He
You
has not
know,
had one that I've
yeah,
seen.
not that I remember. So I think the cross promoting thing would be a big step in helping WWE because now you go back to getting the fan base that you said you wanted to begin with, which was the world. And we all know it's hard. It's hard getting into New Japan. Like ever since WCW shut down back in '01, you haven't seen too many cross promotions with a big name company unless there were some stars that had New Japan ties. Like thankfully for AEW, they have that with Jericho, uh, Cody to a degree, because Dusty wrestled all over the world as well. So
But
I'm
then,
excited for this. I'm truthfully, I'm excited for this Raw 30 because you're gonna see Shawn Michaels, you're gonna see the Undertaker, you might even have a DX reunion. You're gonna see Stone Cold Steve Austin, you might see The Rock, hopefully, but moving forward off of that, I would personally like to see the change come in, cross promotion and putting the matches that actually deserve to be put in. But we'll see.
yeah, I know back in the day, WWE did a lot of cross promotion with ECW back in like the
Well,
late 90s.
that was because Vince had a deal with Heyman. It was more of a talent exchange to a
Okay.
degree. Like how many times, like you look at it, you look back on it now, and you you don't realize that Rob Van Dam has owned Jeff Hardy until you go back and look at those days. Like when the night and a lot of people wouldn't even pay attention to this unless they go back. The night Jerry the King Lawler christens Rob Van Dam as Mr. Monday Night. He beats the shit out of Jeff Hardy.
I remember that.
Like a lot of the Rob Van Dam Jeff Hardy matches are memorable, but nobody even thinks about the chemistry that they had leading up to Rob Van Dam coming and being a full-time WWE employee. Uh, the first invasion that they had was because you know Vince was interested, and he knew Paul because Paul had worked for him oh so long ago. So Paul has ECW, and we're now looking at a possible talent exchange or a joint promotional thing where ECW guys can actually get on the USA Network without getting bleeped out or getting kicked off the air because they broke somebody's neck.
Right.
So or New Jack, rest his soul, New Jack throwing somebody off the balcony.
Oh, what about my legs? You ain't gonna need them. I remember
that
actually saw the
was the best interview. That was the best interview line I'd ever seen.
that
I
was
can't feel
one
my
of
leg. You ain't gonna need him. Not where you
yeah.
going.
I saw that interview and I said, "Yo, New Jack, he was really crazy." Like,
I don't. You know what? It wasn't so much that he was crazy. It was more of he lived life. He had a life most people either wouldn't have wanted to go through or had to go through and survive. So that's why I respect New Jack. I never got the chance to meet him, but just on the outside looking in, I respected him so much because he was honest.
Yeah,
He was an honest man about what he went through, what he did, how he did it. You can't do anything but respect that.
yeah. Uh that just brings me up, man. When he back to that interview when he talked about Terry. Big shout out to Terry Reynolds. I do it. I love Terry Reynolds, but the things he said about her in that interview, well, the thing he said, and I said, oh, why did he put that out there, man? Like, I know she was mad, but that it was funny. But no, like,
I mean, if you as much as and again, this is cancel culture now, but if it's true and you can go back and prove it, what can you honestly be mad about? The fact that it's out? I
yeah,
mean, that'd be the only thing you could be mad about. I, I I've been in situations where just as an athlete, I've been beat on plays by guys I've known 30 years, or not even 30 years, 5, 10 years. I My first experience in arena football, I got toasted by Dominic Goodman. For
mm,
those who don't know, Dominic is a local legend in Cincinnati. It's on tape. What could I say that would tell people different? It's on tape. I've been to wrestling shows where I've seen a lot worse. I've seen fans do more violent stuff than I've seen drunk fans do more violent stuff than the actual wrestlers.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've
right,
seen I've seen fans run in the ring and get their ass whooped. And they tell you before the show even starts, fans, please refrain from running into the ring. If you do, you will be arrested and banned. And what do these drunk idiots do? They run into the ring because their favorite wrestler is getting beat on. And that's the believability of pro wrestling. They made you believe it was real, so you had to go in there and save your favorite wrestler. There was a consequence behind it because now you're banned, but the believability part was my favorite wrestler is getting beat up by Mike Awesome. I don't like Mike Awesome. Let me go in there and jump on Mike Awesome. Not a good idea, but I'm gonna do it.
not at all. Not at all. I've heard too many in about too many
Man,
instances where fans
get
blur the
stupid.
lines and now they just think, oh no, and
Yeah, fans get stupid. Matter of fact, if people pay attention to it was a live Raw where the ladder match between Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam. A fan comes in and tries to push Eddie off the ladder. Eddie goes to town on him.
oh yeah, I would have too. Like, dude, you do you not realize like
Yeah, you just tried to kill me. And the funny part about it is the funny part that makes me laugh the most is when fans do that and then they go try to press charges and it's all on tape.
mm,
And it's
that's
like, dude,
crazy.
do you realize what you just did? Do you realize what you just did? You just tried to kill a wrestler or beat up a wrestler who could whoop your ass without thinking because your favorite wrestler was getting beat by him at that moment in time.
And that was part of the
And
script.
yeah, and then you're gonna tell us he assaulted you. Not so much.
No.
And I've actually heard wrestlers, save other wrestlers from fans who, the wrestler wasn't expecting it. He was probably down, and another fan comes in and tries to jump on him, and the fans are like, "He hit me." It's like, yeah, it also could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. A lot worse.
You're lucky it wasn't New Jack. You're lucky it wasn't. You're
Sandman.
lucky Sandman. Shit, it could have been a whole lot worse if you wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank
But
you, man, so much for
yeah.
being on the show.
Oh, anytime, man, anytime. I love talking sports. And then for those that don't know, you can talk sports with us. It's a breath of fresh air if you know what you're talking about. It's a breath of fresh air if you know what you're talking about.
Right.
I ain't arguing. I ain't arguing with no armchair fans.
No, not no casuals over here, man.
Yeah, can't
Tell them
be.
again about the podcast that you got.
Our podcast is 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. Me and Ronnie Hennigan Shout out to Ronnie. We run and co-host that show. You can find it on Redline Radio and the 216 Sports Network on Facebook and on YouTube. Show airs Saturdays from 2 to 4. We will be back on the air at some point within the next couple of weeks because we had to go on hiatus. We got to take care of some things. But all of our older episodes are on our YouTube channel, the 216 Sports Network. Go back and look them. There's some great guests. There's some great people to talk to. You might even see some fans, some people on them shows. So you never know. So just go
Trust
back
me.
and check them out.
Trust me, he got some legends on there, man. It's a solid show, man. Thank you once again for joining
Appreciate
us,
it.
man. Here
No
with
problem,
Rommel
man.
Thorpe, man. I'm Rico McGee. This has been the Sports Minute. And as always, we'll see you in a minute.
Peace.